Right. So I'm going to let you talk a little more and see if my PowerPoint will work.
Sure.
So take
Give
that
you
from
time. So, okay. So I'm going to continue on the immortality part of this because this is a cosmic alien event as well as a biohacker, biomed event, right? So mine, I'm going to sort of merge the two like I usually do when I get the opportunity in my own way, like I did with the first talk, but only this time it's more focused on regeneration, because if you regenerate faster than you degenerate, you actually grow younger, and that is my definition of immortality. It's just regenerating faster than you degenerate. So once you do that, your clock still goes around just like everybody else's, but instead of getting older, you don't have to get older anymore. How about that? So if someone asks how old you are, why add a numeric value to that anymore? You can ask them to say, well, do you mean to say what is my chrono, like how many trips around the sun, how long I've been alive? That's different. Maybe women wouldn't be so offended if we just asked what their chrono was and it's understood that there's no negative attachment to that. It doesn't have anything to do with aging or being old. How about that? There are people who have completely decided not to celebrate birthdays and end up living over 100 years, like 118 years, like Norman Cousins, the original Juice Man. Or, Walker, Norman Walker. Norman Cousins wrote the book, The Healing of Laughter. These different individuals. And Norman Cousins was more of the slothful servant, waiting to be told by his body that there was a problem. He had like stage 4 cancer. Doctor said he's going to die. And he did have the attitude, if I'm going to go, I'm going to go laughing. Bought himself a bunch of funny films and laughed himself well. And then stopped once he felt better. And it came back. He went back to his old lifestyle. It came back. Are you surprised? You know, geniuses, intellectuals solve problems, geniuses prevent them. He was more of an intellectual approach. Well, it came back again. He decided to laugh himself well again, and did. And he felt better, and he stopped doing it. And it came back a third time. Each time, he was further back than what he actually had been. Because it takes time for the body to regenerate. Like red blood cells cycle, 120 days is their life cycle. That's how long it takes, is 4 months to cycle through them all. So this is just an example of what you can do if you wipe out the oxidative stress for 120 days. They look like a brand new baby's oxidative stress level for those red blood cells. You start producing more healthy muscle tissue, because they also convert to muscle tissue. So just to give you an idea of each tissue type has different regeneration cycles. So yeah, you ready for the mic again?
Sure.
We're going to pass the mic back here.
So we'll see if they're going to bring the overhead projector back over here, because I had a whole slide presentation. So until then, we'll tag team. I'll talk about one thing that I find that it's really important, and then Ezra will speak about one thing. So whenever someone comes to my booth or in my office, I do a lot of muscle testing in kinesiology. And the body has an innate ability to self-correct, which means that the body also has a self-diagnostic mode. Say, hey, something's wrong, okay? Because if you have a cut, you cut yourself, the body can heal it. If it's a very bad cut, you really want to go to a doctor and suture it up so it'll heal better and have a minimal scar, because the body will have a challenge doing that. For example, if you have a small infection, your body will have an inflammatory process, and it knows how to take care of a small infection. You have a very large infection, it'll overwhelm the body, and it needs some help. But the body never had a self-diagnostic mode. We'd all be dead, because it doesn't have the awareness. So knowing that we have a self-diagnostic mode, one of the very first things I do is to make sure that your self-diagnostic computer is working. Like everyone's got a car that has a check engine light. Now that check engine light, if it goes on when you're driving, well, the car still drives, but it's not going to drive as efficiently as if that check engine light was off, because that means it's checking all the different sensors and the engine's working perfectly and properly per specs, but it's a little bit out of whack. So pain is a symptom of your body out of whack. stiffness in the morning, feeling bad when you think about certain things. These are all symptoms. Those are all like check engine lights in the body. So let's calibrate. What doctors don't know is how do you, one, even knowing that the body has a self-diagnostic mode, and then how do you check it? How do you make sure it's working properly? There are 4 main reflexes that I will check. The very first one is the third eye. It's right there by the pineal point, and in Chinese medicine called the yin tang point. And if you touch that point, it'll change the polarity of a muscle. It'll make a strong muscle weak or a weak muscle strong. And I'm going to want to make sure that that works properly. Some people that are overly stressed out, it's always strong. They're like in sympathetic dominant, and that means every muscle is going to be strong. I won't get a good test. So I need to recalibrate that circuit first. The very second thing I check someone on is a dehydration reflex. And if they're dehydrated, then every muscle is going to test weak. And I usually just check the shoulder muscles. It's easy to test. And if they're both weak, very first thing I do is drink some water. And I prefer alkaline water. I have that in the office. I have it quadruple filtered. And I have them taste that. And 80% plus of the time, then that weak muscle gets stronger. And 20% of the time, it doesn't. And then sometimes I'll add minerals. And that usually takes care of it. And then there's like 1%, some spiritual, emotional thing I got to clear out. But 99% of the time, it's either just good water or water with some minerals in it. And then the third reflex is called a self-communication reflex. And it deals with a combination of the heart chakra and some reflex points above and below it. I describe all of this I'm telling you in my book. So if you guys want to learn about or read about what I'm doing, then it's in my book. And you want to make sure that the body is communicating with itself. And the very last reflex of these 4 reflex complex is an allergy reflex. And I check that. And 5% of the time, someone has an allergy reflex that has to be reset. And now I make sure that that's working. That means your self-diagnostic mode is online, and the muscle testing that I want to do on your body will work adequately. And you'd be surprised how many people come in and they're just dehydrated. In fact, I actually that's like step 0. Those 4 points are step 0. It takes me maybe 10 seconds to do all 4 of those reflexes, but so often I stop and have them drink water. I'm the only person that I know of that brought water with them out to this event. I brought a 2-gallon container, and it's right by my booth, and I have people drink some water. So if all these other medical doctors would at least have their water bottle, like I have, in the waiting room. And I ask people to drink water before they see me so I don't have to stop the healing process just to have them drink water to reset. That's my first number 1 thing, and take it away.
Got a mic. Do you have your phone?
I do.
Can you bring up the text I just gave you?
All right.
So talking about diagnostics, since we're doing a joint presentation and that's what's come up, there's all kinds of self-diagnosis that we do have. Everything is GPS through the lymphatic vessels that act as cables. Direct current, not just blood flow, but you have more lymph vessels than blood vessels and more lymph than blood. Meridians follow, these electrical cable systems in your body, and everything's interconnected through the lymphatic system. The eyes, all through the colon too, they go from the organ to the colon, find out where the problem is, and it shows up as inflammation, and that's excess lymph. That's basically lymphedema. Every itis is inflammation. It's lymph fluid. Every itis and every swelling means to swell that's every tumor, by the way, to swell. That's what the word tumor means from its Latin origin, tumere. So it's all trapped albumin, and it shows up in the eyes, it shows up in the feet with reflexology. because that's where the lymph vessel is swollen, where there's organs with inflammation, it swells the lymph vessel up all the way down to the bottom of the foot and in the hands and different places. This I use, though, I travel with the Zero Disease Quantum Bioscanner. You see some of these similar here at this show. 2 minutes, gives over a 100-page PDF report, and it measures everything to the thousands. There's 45 reports from endocrine, immune, minerals, vitamins, of course, hormones, your cardiovascular, cerebrovascular report, your whole colon, small and large intestine, all these things. It can tell you what your left ventricle ejection impedance is. Anywhere there's inflammation in the body, there's male reports for men, female reports for women, and it's a great tool to, within a couple minutes, give a bit more detail, and it's not just like when you get a weak muscle, a low gear, like what they do with kinesiology. I did the International Kinesiology Report too. The good thing is these all correlate together. Sometimes you don't always have something like that there. It's great to have something that you can do on the spot. And every master like Dr. Benton here that's developed his own way of working with those things, they come up with their own strengths in that area too. So I trained with somebody who had over 20 years of experience, the most experience in the state that I train in of anybody there. But I've learned that another thing, where's that phone at, that text message, that I want to shift a little bit of a different conversation. I've got 7 master key pillars in our life that could be chains dragging you down if they're not working for you, that are specific to regeneration, and each one of them has its master key. So I'm going to run through a list just really quick, and then we'll be going into more detail. You can figure out how we can blend that with your 10 things. But one of them is the integration or disintegration of truth itself. And who showed up saying they were showing the way to truth in life? You say, Jesus. Yeah, he did. It was much more than it just being that he's the way. Whoever said that is probably one of the greatest disempowerments in all Christianity that's been spread. There's much more to it, to the point his disciples said if they could write everything about it, there'd be enough books to fill the earth type of thing. Because it had to do with everything. Life's made of systems. Each system has a certain amount of laws. We're in alignment. We get the fruit of the tree of life of that part of our life, and we actually integrate more. Every positive choice we make, we could be like a super genius. And it all turns on the life process itself because it's all interconnected. The life process of ourselves, when we're breaking laws, we forget more and more of what we used to know, and it shuts off life processes. There's all these switches, all interconnected. So, one more time. I'm going to just run through this really quick. I can get into a lot more detail of the mechanisms of the integration or disintegration, how this happens. It's really important when you understand more about it. You can always be getting through it when you're facing, two opposites at the same time. You've got cognitive dissonance involved. It's like a wall of terror for a lot of people. A lot of people just let go of whatever is easier, go back to their old lifestyle.
Well, you did this one already, so why don't I take you to the next one?
Okay, sure. Okay.
Can you each take 2 steps to this way?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, good. Who here has a thyroid condition? Anyone? Okay, anyone have any sore shoulders that just don't go away? Yes?
Well, I guess so.
Coming over.
My disability
All right, coming up. Let's see what's going on here.
because when I do
I'll put them together in a moment. I want to check Roger first. And now, when am I speaking at your event? You still?
ranch?
Yeah.
it's coming up for scheduling.
Okay, scheduling. Perfect. I'm going to have you stand here. So, you got it in the camera? Okay, hold this arm up for me. Straight out. Straight up. Pushing up towards the ceiling,
You want me to resist you?
if you can.
Okay.
Yeah, it's still weak. So step 0, hold strong. You're sort of weak, not quite strong. How about this arm, pushing up? All right, so he's got 2 weak shoulders. What did we just learn about 2 weak shoulders? What do we need to give him? You're not listening? Hydration. I think he's hydrated. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give Ezra the floor. I got to go get water. Don't leave. I have to hydrate you because your self-diagnostic mode is offline. I need 4 things to work. You got to have your muscles that are strong when they're supposed to be strong, weak when they're supposed to be weak, and now they're all weak. So hang out and let Ezra take over, and I'm going to get some water.
And this is where I could say to the master that I learned kinesiology from, because it's part of the system, is hydration. The brain has to have it. Take some deep breaths, do some belly breathing, because that is part of the kinesiology program, and that will put water in. Different part of the conversation that Jesus had with the woman at the well. You can drink from this. You always have to. It'll always be here. But what if I show you how to also take a drink of water without having to have that? Stand up and take a deep breath, and it shoots like a geyser. This ties into some of the keys I'm talking about of pulling excess fluid from different parts of your body and dumping it back in the bloodstream where it belongs. Go ahead and stand up, take a deep breath. Big, deep breath, and let it out. Don't have to guarantee it. It's just shot like a geyser, the largest lymph vessel. Take another deep breath, and out. Lungs put pressure on the largest lymph vessel, makes it shoot like a geyser. Again, dumps fluid back in the bloodstream where it belongs. It comes right up between the lungs, and this is where Christ was pierced with the spear of destiny, is at the base of that. Out came the blood and lymph. He talked about living waters flowing from the bellies of them that believe before that even happened. So we're talking about blood and lymph being responsible for life and death. The energy, there's two keys to inflammation removal. Or, energy is the key to unlock it, the albumin. And there's energy modalities here. There's also energy power plants inside of your body. When we activate, well, we're going to talk more about that. Once you unlock the albumin with energy, second thing is activating the lymphatic vessel to pull it out. When you know how to combine those things, you start cracking the code for healing like crazy, just that alone, because you're shifting the environment. The main aspect of the disease environment versus zero disease environment is whether there's inflammation or not. That's the main aspect of terrain theory. My father was the greatest champion of terrain theory, by the way. So then I was his top protege. He got Wayne Dyer, Tony Robbins. A lot of people started on their paths because everything, and empowerment ties into this, everything we think, say, and do. He wrote formulas with his physics background after he discovered the engine, the sodium-potassium pump. Are you going to get water still?
I had my assistant go to get
Oh, you
water.
did? Great. So, but that's another way. You've been deep breathing. You might actually test him, see if he needs it anymore. Doing the belly breathing.
All right, let's see. Hold your arm up, push up towards the ceiling. That is stronger. Not strongest, but it's stronger. It's improved. This one is good, and this one is almost good. Okay, we're getting there. We're getting there. So that's good. Who here's got low back pain? Anyone got low back pain? Okay. Now I worked on you. Okay, so that was what I was going to, so I'm going to jump over to that topic. Here's what doctors miss about low back pain. They always look at a disc. They're all fixated on a disc. They completely miss the sacroiliac joint. Who knows what the sacroiliac joint is in the body? Anybody? No, well, I'm going to educate you. So you have the sacrum, in the body we have the spine. The brain sits on top of the cervical spine, thoracic spine, lumbar spine, and then the sacrum. Whenever we're babies, the sacrum are 5 separate bones, but then they fuse together, and that creates, I call it the lock and key fit. Whenever we do yoga, we're saying, you want to breathe into your core, or from your core, where your core is the pelvis sacrum complex. Okay, so if you look at the sacrum, so it looks like this, and then right next to the sacrum is the sides of the pelvis, called the ilium, 2 sides, one side on the other side, and there's a joint, okay, and it's a very shallow joint, and what holds that joint together are ligaments. Ligaments are rope, just like rope. So if you overstretch your ligament because you fell down, had a car accident, did the splits when you weren't supposed to, that hurts, and those ligaments overstretch. Now what happens when you overstretch rope? You tend to throw it away and get some fresh rope. Well, you can't do that in the body. You can't just throw it away. But that's what happens in the body. And make a contrast, muscles are like bungee cords. They're designed to stretch and contract, stretch and contract. You would see that if you look at an anatomy, ligaments are white and muscles are red, because muscles have a lot of vascularity, a lot of blood vessels. And that's why they'll heal faster. Ligaments are white, very little vascularity, so it'll take longer to heal. So I tell you, even if someone does have a disc, they also have a sacroiliac joint. So tell your friends and loved ones, thank you, yes, perfect. Tell your friends and loved ones that if they have a low back problem and the doctor's about to cut into them, stop, have them call me. You're going to save them, weeks or months of pain. There's something that doctors don't tell you called failed back surgery syndrome, FBSS. It's a whole diagnosis code. Means they did the surgery and it didn't work. You know why? Because it was the wrong body part. If it was the right body part, then it would be a success. But they're not looking at the entire complex of the low back. So that's things doctors really need to know, and they don't. And one thing that, what's your first name again? Earl, yeah. So Earl, I gave you a belt, right? Tell you what you need is you need a Band-Aid to go around your entire pelvis. And there we go. And, are you wearing yours right now? Yes, I am. Good. So we got 2 people in the room that's wearing their belt. So it's a 3-step process. We've got to put a belt on because the belt helps the ligaments relax. Because these are overstretched. Nothing in the body will heal in sympathetic mode. If they're under stress, it just can't heal. You have to take the tension off of it, and then you can fix it. Just like you want to weld something, you got to put them next to each other and then weld it. You can't try to put tension on any kind of joint or even a weld, and it's not going to hold. You got to take the tension off of it, and then you come see someone like me who knows how to rebalance the muscles in the low back, and then you give them specific supplementation for the connective tissue. And you do that 2 or 3 visits, and the time will heal it up. That's it. Simple. No surgery required, no weeks of drugs required, no expensive cortisone shots or pain management shots. I don't know why the heck these doctors think they know anything, sorry doctors, about pain management. Just find out what's causing the irritation. There's sensors all over the body. There's stretch receptors. There's heat and cold receptors. They get out of whack. They need calibration or recalibration. Let's do that, and then it'll come back on. Now let's see if we'll transition back to the shoulder issue. You drank at least 1 glass of water, hold. Boom, solid. See the difference there? Nice and solid. Okay, here. All right, so now, hold this mic for me. Okay, pushing up, and I'm gonna check the other reflexes. So this is the third eye, and now that strong muscle goes weak. And take my finger away from there, hold strong, 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 and touch that third eye. It'll change the polarity. Any strong muscle goes weak, and it does. I'm going to check. This is the dehydration reflex, hold strong, and that's okay now. Self-communication reflex, hold strong. Okay, good. So tell me about your shoulder discomfort.
Well, when I was 18, we had just paid the landlord, and we were all excited, and the house was clean, and he went out the door, and I said, yeah, and I went like this to a guy, and like this, and a big guy grabbed me from behind, 250 pounds. I went like this and went to flip him, and he held on, and I went to the ground, and I don't know if you could tell, but I think I'm a little crooked from it, and I was diagnosed with a problem here, and it grinds and stuff, so.
Okay, I'm going to check a couple of shoulder muscles. Hold this arm out to the side like that. I'm going to try to push up. Don't let me.
You're going to push up?
You're pushing up. You're resisting. So it's a little weak. It's not the worst, but turn your hand up, pushing up. That's a little stronger. Same thing here, pushing up. That's solid. Turn your hand up, pushing up. Little weak there. Okay. So we have a little bit of weakness, not the worst thing. So do you feel it more on the right or on the left?
Left.
Okay. Hold your arm right next to you like this. I'm going to try to pull out. Don't let me. That's all right. And this other arm. That's okay. hold this arm up again. This was a little bit weak. And hold on to the microphone. There it is. All right. So you had a little bit of weakness. What I do is what I'm doing is I'm a test meter. So now that step 0 was making sure that his body is testable. And then I found a weak muscle. And then I'm using my hands, my fingers, and I'm checking different circuits. Say, is this a circuit involved? Sort of like if anyone here deals with installing telephone lines, they'll have to put a tracer on the line and listen for a beeping sound and find out where that line's going or where the open circuit is. That's what I'm doing for the human body. And the short circuit was not here in the spine. It was in the thyroid gland. And in fact, it was a reverse thyroid. I had to use the back of my hand. When I did that, that muscle went strong. And I bring that to your attention because so many doctors completely miss the electrical connection to the thyroid gland. And thyroid gland issues usually happen after a whiplash type injury because the nerve supply to the thyroid gland comes from the lower cervical spine. So I'm not sure how you were slammed to the ground, but your head probably banged around a little bit, and there's a little bit of damage here to the thyroid gland. We're going to fix it right in front of everybody. And that's why the connection, that's the wiring. No medical doctor talks about the wiring to the thyroid gland. And why don't we check the electricity? If the lights went out here, we're probably going to guess if it's more than one light bulb, it's not a light bulb, it's the global circuit. Let's go to the fuse panel and reset it. Body has the same kind of circuitry, and every spinal level and every organ has the potential to get out of whack, needs to be recalibrated, and here's how we do it. So if you have any friends or family members that got some thyroid issues and are taking Synthroid or whatever they're taking, tell them what you just learned. Okay, so here we go. Hold this arm out to the side, push up towards the ceiling. That's pretty strong already. Hold strong. Yeah. Take a breath in and out. Just sort of locking it in. As soon as I touched the back of my hand here, the consciousness said thank you, and it actually did the reset. As soon as I found the right circuit, the body's ability to reset is amazing. You just have to bring the consciousness to it, and I did. And boom, I just locked it in a little bit more by tapping it out. Okay, move the shoulders around. There might be more. I don't know.
No, it feels better.
Okay, a little easier.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. I just saved him potential surgery, Now, this shoulder, the shoulder complex, there's several muscles in those, the teres major, teres minor, lat dorsi, trapezius. So there's a bunch of other muscles to check and make sure they're all working right. Because whenever you have clicking, either like in the knee or in the shoulder, is because you have to make sure that the electrical connection to all the muscles are on and they are in coordinated fashion. For you to lift the arm like this, you have to the supraspinatus muscle contract, your lat muscle has to not contract, has to relax, and your pec major and pec minor muscles have to relax in a certain way. This is a complex motion, and it's effortless when everything's working right. When things are not working right, you'll hear, it clicks whenever I go there, and we have to look at that point, what muscles aren't pulling correctly on the shoulder. Thank you so much. You're up.
Awesome. Give him a hand. This is really good detail to watch. And what he's actually done, he's covered master command center areas, like when you're talking about pineal, pituitary, third eye stuff, thyroid and parathyroid, thymus, you're actually tapping into chakras, or what they call 7 houses in China. You're talking about power plants inside of your body that everyone actually has, but most people haven't figured out how to tap into, turn on. that all need to be on 100%. And when I do instant mass healings with whole audiences, within a split second, I'm using super conscious principles to just turn them all on at the same time, and we actually skip all this detail of why and what all was going on in between, and miracles just happen. But so it's really good to break it down with what he's doing and show some of the detail that you normally don't see. And it's great to have a bioscanner to show it that way. They're technologies. I just want to say these endocrine glands are your power plants, the main energy centers in the body. They produce a multi-layer waveform that lots of people, scientists, have done their best to mimic. And when you have a technology that is able to mimic the energy that the cells normally produce of all the different tissue types, you jumpstart them. My father discovered the engine. He understood how this worked. You literally jumpstart. It's like, some people call it recharging your cellular batteries of your cells in your body. So like the Tesla's PEMF here is excellent. And it's actually, in my opinion, the best of, as far as what's here at the show, best of all med-bed technology that does exist, and it's here. It's not the cheapest one in that category, but it has the best hardware and software here. You can go check it out. But we have the better hardware, and it's just a matter of having the right software. We have better than any AI. We can access any master's empowerment from any time or place. I'm going to get to that, like how to bring that stuff in. But I want to talk about stem cells. Knowing how to turn on your power plants, you can use that for lots of different things, and personalizing what else you can do is like talking about immortal, higher realm being capacity, what we're capable of. Stem cells are the most powerful regeneration cells in the body. And 99% of what's being injected are not the master stem cells. Only 1% is the muse cell. They're responsible for 99% of the positive results people are getting. When you produce and transport your own stem cells using the master key, which is very rare, I developed the technology over 30 years ago with a master key for that. There's much more of those muse cells, master stem cells involved, and I believe that's why I've been able to basically reattach brains from New York to LA in 24 hours without physically being present. And those types of success stories. Now, the next thing is I want to talk about the key to the DNA being something that's a God particle, NRF2, NRF2. You might want to write this down because this is replacing the whole pharmaceutical market. So think of these are supposed to be pillars or skyscrapers instead of chains that drag you down. They're supposed to be lifting you up. And literally, each branch of regeneration is like a skyscraper or pillar in your body. So imagine the one for the DNA has 5,000 units. Drug try to open up 1 unit at a time. They shut off more than they turn on. And yet this zipper protein that just goes along the whole 5,000 and opens them all up without any long list of negative effects of any drug. That's what we're born producing. This is when you get into how God created us, what we're capable of. It always says, when man thought they could do better than God, it always says, turns around and says, no, you can't. Not even close. 5,000 times more efficient than any drug without the negative effects of any drug. Can you imagine taking 5,000 drugs to solve the problem? I can go on and on about this, but so we got even the peptides that are responsible for producing stem cells are regulated by that same God particle called NRF2. NRF2, that's how we say it. Nucleus reaction factor 2 is the longer name, but NRF2. So then there's the key, like all the cytokines, all the super antioxidant enzymes that wipe out oxidative stress, even within an 80-year-old, back to that of a child within a couple weeks. That lengthen telomeres more than anything, because it's the oxidative stress that shortens telomeres, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All the peptides that all the athletes are spending thousands of dollars for per month. All the ones we're born producing are all upregulated by NRF2. All the things that are overproducing, causing a problem, like all the cytokines, are downregulated by NRF2. They're all tuned in the right direction every single time, every gene associated with every type of cancer. 28 are strongly associated with colon cancer. Only one of those has a drug designed to target it. How many pharmaceutical companies want you to know that that's the case? That all 28 are regulated by NRF2, not just all 36 cytokines, but every gene associated with every type of cancer, cell division, all the disease mechanisms in every category. Apoptosis, programmed cell death, so you don't have the zombie cells running around your body that are supposed to be just recycled. You know, it's part of what carves out our fingers in the womb, and it's important that those genes express when they're supposed to and stop expressing when they're not supposed to be expressed anymore, so that they're working right. Can you imagine when that goes wrong, what starts to happen? Well, more and more after 20, it shuts off. This master key can't go to work. There's a key to the microbiome that is butyric acid. It's responsible for the taste and smell of bile. If you give it to your loved ones, they may not love you anymore. But Al Zapp figured out how to mask the taste and smell of it. And that discovery and the solution for that was the Natural Products Expo Product of the Year, first year it came out. And then everybody forgot about it. 99% of experts in the microbiome don't even know what it is. Most of the doctors definitely don't know what it is. And how can they help you solve your microbiome? Do you know how much of that has to do with autoimmune problems too? And how the DNA has to do with, you want to know DNA side? They have to have, the white blood cells and lymphocytes have to have the friendly flora's presence just to be able to identify friend from foe. They can't do it without their presence.
Can you tell us where you find in nature butyric acid?
Animal fat, but there's still not enough even for meat eaters. There's a lot of articles written by members of the vegan community because they know they especially are missing it, and it's responsible for so many vegan leaders having leaky gut. They end up with leaky gut more than anybody. The inflammation, as it pushes the cells further apart, that's leaky gut. Without inflammation, you don't have leaky gut. So that all ties in together. How all of these things weave together and support each other. I can go on and on and on about this, but let me just say, white blood cells and lymphocytes, when they accelerate their life process, when they find cancer, candida, bacteria that's not supposed to be there, or parasites, or even black mold, they accelerate their life process, shoot out from oxygen. The byproduct is oxygen radical. I like to speak English, and the science community calls it superoxide. It's oxygen missing an electron. And the first discovery that was ever published on oxidative stress, the first article ever published was by Dr. Joe McCord, the last Elliott Crescent Gold Medal recipient. And it's on superoxide dismutase, the oxygen reintegration enzyme that converts 1 million of those oxygen radicals per second back to oxygen, repairs them. Can you imagine how many of the direct antioxidants, even if you can do 1 and 1 and then done, if you have 5,000, like a whole bottle of acai, how many of those you'd have to drink per second just to keep up with 1 molecule of superoxide dismutase, or glutathione that does the same thing, or catalase that does the same thing with hydrogen? These are the most powerful oxygen and hydrogen technologies in the world, from SOD and catalase. I call it oxygen reintegration and hydrogen reintegration enzymes. So that's just 2 of the 5,000 things that NRF2 regulates for you. And how many biohackers are forcing the sales of all these technologies that don't do that for you? And if you're not reestablishing the functionality of your own cells, how God designed to do it, you still have autoimmune. Why? Because they're shooting out these free radicals to dissolve the cancer in seconds. We've seen video footage of it for years. Within seconds, just dissolves the cancer cells in a piece that's so small you can't even see it under the microscope anymore. And what they're supposed to do after that, shoot out these enzymes, SOD, glutathione, catalase. There's about 30 of those we know about. That's still less than 1% of what NRF2 activation does for you. Upregulates them better than anything. It's what does it. And then, guess what? 1 million times per second, right back to the healthy molecule so they don't damage the healthy tissue in the surrounding area. And if that other gun is broken, it's supposed to shoot out these super antioxidant enzymes, they do damage the healthy tissue in the surrounding area. That's the mechanism for the autoimmune problems genetically. And then the microbiome, we know how important that is for the friendly flora to even be present to recognize friend from foe. When you solve those 2 problems, you watch what happens to autoimmune problems, just disappearing like crazy. Now, these are major. They've been published many ways on what's going on. I want to say 2 more things before we do this.
I took a picture of it.
Okay, excellent.
Scroll down.
Oh, I see. So I want to talk about from the DNA key to the microbiome key, which replaces all the pharmaceutical market and all antibiotics, probiotics, and all other prebiotics.
Well, hold on.
Because it's the prebiotic of all prebiotics, what the friendly flora thrive with the very, very, very most, what they're suffering the very, very, very most without, and that's butyric acid. Having a source that's masked of the taste and smell, so when you give it to your loved ones, they still love you, is rare. Contact us for the solutions, because we're both involved with this.
Good. So let me transition back. So everything that Ezra shared with you, of course, requires a brain, spinal, nervous system connection that has consciousness, because everything has to go where it has to go at the certain time it has to get there. And I'm going to give you an example of the brain's ability to protect you that I see all the time. So an example, let's go back to that low back where we have that sacroiliac joint failure. And here's what goes on. The brain knows that there's an issue. What it does, it hurts because you have the receptors, there's specific receptors in the ligaments that's stretched. It's a stretch receptor, and it doesn't want to be stretched. When it's stretched, it sends a signal to the brain that says, hey, I need some help here. Brain says, I'm on it. And it sends a pain signal out, and it also sends a signal to all the muscles around that low back. And everyone varies. Some people just has a little bit of low back pain in that area. Some people have pain all along their spine, all the way up and down the spine, low back, mid back, and sometimes into the neck. And the next thing that the brain does to protect you from further injury, it turns the muscles down in the low back. So the muscles that go from the low back down into the legs get turned off. Now, the two individuals that I worked on, one yesterday, one today, both saw that. They lie face down. I check the hamstrings and the glute max, and either all of them or some of them are weak. And then I put the brace around them, and then some of those muscles turn back on. And then sometimes they turn back on 100%, and sometimes they turn on like 70 or 80%. Then I have to find out where I have to go to reset to get back to 100%. But the brain is there. We're designed to survive first, thrive second. The brain and the body will do what we need to do to survive. We know how to run fast from a saber-toothed tiger. If we trip and get up, our adrenaline is pumping. We're going to run like crazy, even if we have a bad, now we have a sprained ankle. And then later on, the body will take some time to fix that. It takes a different kind of consciousness to want to help reset your body so that it gets out of survival mode into thriving mode. We are sharing with you these secrets to get you from out of survival into thriving mode. We have to reset the nervous system so it's aware. A lot of people are stuck in sympathetic dominant. That means they're in fight or flight. That's a combination of their adrenal glands being overworked for a long time and the vagus nerve being turned down. So the adrenal gland and the sympathetic nervous system is superactivated. The vagus nerve system is turned down, and someone can't relax. Oh, you're always twitchy. How come you can't relax? I don't know why. I just can't relax. It's who I am. No, it's your body in fight or flight for a long time. You got to go and hit the reset button. And then because the body really only heals when the vagus nerve, when the parasympathetic system is activated, that's when rest and relaxation is such an important ingredient to the healing process. And then once we do get that, and we start adding in some of the most amazing technology, how to make us thrive, then we have that chronological age of 0, or you feel much better than
the chrono is how many trips around the sun, but biological
age.
What's actually how a health thermometer. That's how healthy you are, how young you are.
It's a real gauge.
The real age isn't how long you've been alive. That's your chrono.
Right. And so it becomes, who here gets a massage, and there's always that one spot that they massage, and it still hurts like a minute or two after they're done massaging it. Okay? I tell you, where do you feel that in your body most often? Yeah. Okay. And where do you feel that in your body? Things the doctors don't know and things massage therapists don't know, that's because your rib head is popped out. And once you get the massage, you got to come see someone like me, and a little pops it back in, and then because it's popped backwards, it's popped posterior and inferior, the little muscles around it are guarding, saying, no, don't go farther back. And you get it popped back in. Oh. So that's another secret of what massage therapists don't know. Oh, it feels good, but then it still hurts. And sometimes they do it to me, and it doesn't feel good. it's not, it doesn't feel good. And you pop it back in, it feels great. So you got to pop it back in and find out what nutrition your connective tissue needs to hold stronger.
Which pillar that I talk about is he describing? Out of which pillar that I've mentioned? Do you know?
Bonus round.
Here's the deal. When it comes to inflammation, there's two keys. Energy unlocks the albumin, and activating lymphatics pulls it out. And the things that do it internally is deep breathing and bouncing. Externally, I didn't quite get to, it's the laying on of hands, where everything needs to be done with, the laying on of hands is stroking, compressing, pressure massage, light fast stroke, all this beautiful stuff that feels so good that also activates the lymphatics externally and where things need to be adjusted physically, like manual hands-on techniques. That art, he has been going into more detail on, and I didn't, even though I got a whole Power Hill system of self-healing techniques. I take a whole day to break them down, like 13 different techniques that cover the whole body from head to toe, a whole different way. But it's like any joint, any muscle. Muscles are like a bunch of straws. Like he was talking about earlier, everything's like vascular, a bunch of straws like tubes. Each fiber, all they do is contract and relax. He described it a different way. And it depends on what position the sodium potassium pumps in, whether they're contracted or relaxed. Right? When they end up in there's a certain way when they shut off those sodium potassium pumps, they always end up in contracted position every time, every muscle problem out there. So it's how we get them relaxed. I do it a little different way because my father discovered that engine, wrote formulas on it. We know how it even affects the intrinsic muscles in the spine, which you got 125 out of all 600 muscles there. They call involuntary, right? And how many techniques that have been trying to target those have done a good job? 90% of them don't really work very well.
They don't. I also want to add, see, whenever those pumps stop working, they stay contracted, and that's why we have rigor mortis. When you pass away, you don't have the biochemical processes, the body freezes up. That's exactly right, because these pumps stop working.
Not just that, when the energy comes out, the albumin locks. That's the key that locks and unlocks the albumin, which is the water magnet and sodium magnet. That's why I said it's the first key to understand inflammation. So when it comes out, that's how fast the albumin can lock and make that. This is what makes a tumor hard without any muscle fiber in it. It's like taking a liquid egg that's surrounded by albumin and water, that's what the clear white is, and turning it into hard-boiled without physically cooking it, just by bringing the energy out. That's the key that locks it. Bring the energy back in, it unlocks it, but it could sit there for a lifetime. It's part of why these problems keep coming back, because things aren't quite adjusted right, because there's still trapped albumin. There's reasons for it, but it's when you understand how to bring the energy back in, you're unlocking that albumin, and when you reestablish oxygen, those muscles relax, and it's like going from rigor mortis back to life. It can happen with a smaller animal within like 2 to 4 hours. It's rigor mortis done. This is what does it. There's some bodies that stay alive even after someone's spirit and soul is gone. Is called an incorrupt body. This is a type of event where it's a cosmic thing. Catholic churches have some of these cases. Other lineages have them. Most people don't know this exists. When you cut them, they bleed. No matter how many years, they do not decay. There are no parasites in their bodies. I've never had parasites. I just did another cleanse again, and the master, detox person thought for sure I would. They'd seen everybody do it. I've never seen any parasites in my body. But you have to have pockets of trapped albumin for that to happen, where there's fermentation, things are decaying. Where you don't have any of those pockets, there's no place for this stuff to hide, for any of it to hide. Long COVID, same thing. They caused inflammation, ended up with locked albumin, too much of it through their system. You can't even die from COVID without terminal inflammation. You can't. If inflammation happens too fast, you die. If it doesn't, you have time to produce your own antibodies, you live. Did you know that? That is 100%. That's been published. So when it comes to unlocking inflammation, what I've taught you already is more powerful than anything that they had on mainstream media, if you especially learn how to do that for yourselves. I know I got to pass this back a second, but I also know there's a key for the hormones that you experience today. Whole other pillar that could be a chain if you're just producing the stress hormones that make you be feeling depressed and everything else, versus your HGH and all the regeneration factors. According to Harvard, it's the most powerful single substance our cells can produce. HGH. And we get the whole spectrum that not even bioidentical hormonal replacement therapy gives you. There are supplementary factors that are missing, and we're just as strong as our weakest link. Each tissue type has certain hormones that are supposed to regenerate them. So what are you doing when you're missing a bunch of supplementary factors this ties back to what we were having on the panel last night. There was a bit of a debate. I was kind of leading and winning. I'm telling you that this, when you activate the master key for your hormone production, you get the Grand Orchestra Symphony. Christopher Keys has a set in his booth of what the same set that the Eagles and the Chiefs use, the two teams that have done the best in the Super Bowl the past few years.
So tell us about this master key.
You used it this morning.
I sure did.
What was your experience?
So he is describing the fact that we put these bands that we inflate with air on my arms and my legs. And then we exercised me to just about failure, and the restriction of blood to these organs when they need it causes a nitric oxide cascade and other things that he can describe better than I do, but it releases the full spectrum of all the biochemicals that our body needs. And it is more specific because it's everything, because our body, like in my lecture I said, it's inside you. Whatever our body needs, it's inside you. We just we're putting these restriction bands and work hard. He worked me to failure on biceps and triceps.
You can call it failure or greater achievement.
Or, right, to greater achievement, exactly. And feeling great, and then you take the bands off, and I feel phenomenal. I feel great. And then if we did a blood test, or I'll get tested on the device a little bit later once we finish our lecture, we'll see how I'm coming back to all greens. You know, we have different colors. A spectrum green is always the best things that we want to do. So once again, anti-aging, without drugs, without surgery, oh yeah, and maybe without all the supplementation that everyone wants us to take. Just do what the body knows what to do. Well, ozone is good.
Don't ever. Your body produces its own hydrogen peroxide and everything it needs to. If you do stuff like that, it kills everything organic. Are you organic? Is anything about you not organic? Do you want to kill yourself? It's like antibiotics. It means anti-life. You want to kill yourself? Never will I ever do either one of those things. People I see do it. They might do a scan before and after, see some things improve that they really need help with. Other things that were already in green, knock them out. Trading one problem for another. When people activate master keys that I show them, they have everything all at the same time of over a 100-page report, all moving back to the green all together. That's miraculous. And I've had 100% success with everybody I've worked with. I've never seen one person not be able to achieve that. And I've had it in ridiculously short periods of time. So if you really want to know, I've been watching this, and this scanner, it is lighting a fuse and a fire. It's going to explode here really soon here in Las Vegas. It has been
and soon in Los Angeles.
That's been showing it. It's showing how to track what most people, tons of information that most people have no clue about.
And soon in Omaha.
More detail on what's going on with all the systems in your body than what you can get just with typical kinesiology. It'd take way too long. And it does it in a couple minutes.
Let me ask you, do you have any serious health issue going on? I'm talking to the gentleman who bought the ozone machine.
Oh, no, she bought it.
She bought it. Okay, do you have a serious... Because like the only time I did ozone is after COVID, and I wanted to get my blood cleaned. I'm not saying I do it now after what Ezra showed with me, but I had a pretty serious health issue, and I had COVID, and I landed in the hospital. I was, they had all the PPE, and I wasn't vaccinated. I just got it, and I just felt lethargic, and I just couldn't breathe well. And then Cedar Sinai, Marina Del Rey, just like, oh my goodness. And then I got out of there because I knew I'm not going to get well in there. They actually gave me 2 doses of remdesivir. I said, no, how about ivermectin? They go, well, that's not our protocol. And like, how am I going to, I'm the patient. I said, no. So at least give me vitamin C. They gave me the vitamin C IV, but they gave me 2 doses. So I had to go to see my chiropractor when I got out. But one thing I did was I did get 1 session of ozone because I had a serious health issue. If you don't have a serious health issue, use the bands, But you have to put the work in. The work in is you got to work out hard, High intensity, what's HIIT, and with the bands, and your body will produce what you need to produce.
We actually did a high-intensity workout, head first dive into achievement, or what you call failure. And then we used light activity with the bands. we don't do high intensity or heavy weight with the bands. There was a study with 16-year-olds, half of them with heavy weight, the other half with light activity with the B3 bands, to see which group had the greater strength increases. It's always been thought that we got to tear muscle fibers, taking a step back, to maybe take a couple steps forward, maybe one step ahead because of the hormones. No. The group that didn't take a step back, they just took 2 steps ahead, and they're all already a step ahead of everybody. They had greater strength increases even with lighter activity, even at 80-year-olds getting significant hormone release with a 10-minute walk because of these bands. So come get a free demo. I've got like 5 sets of them here at the show. Tim Lang has a set in his booth. Christopher Key has a set in his booth. They're all part of my group. Everybody in Vegas that's part of that organization is all part of my group. But I introduced it here.
Okay, I want to go on to a different topic.
Yeah, this is the Zero Disease Quantum Bioscanner. I import them. They're, this is, by the way, do you know how do we produce BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor? There's elements of this. There's crossover. The butyric acid is also a precursor to that. Makes it so we can more easily produce it. But the master key for the hormones is the chemistry of muscle failure. These bands just already get us halfway there, so we don't have to work very hard to dip below the 30% oxygen level, because the strong science says that's what's required. It's an anaerobic activity that actually is sucking all the oxygen out of the blood, and it's the opposite of just being lazy, where it just sits and ferments. And that's the food for cancer and candida and all the bad parasites, everything. So when we're sucking it all out, we're also increasing more mitochondria throughout all our cells than anything we've ever seen, because we get glycogen releases. That's the fuel for fast twitch. You got to have slow twitch failure to get fast twitch activity. You're getting a nitric oxide release. It doesn't matter how much of it we're consuming. It ends up being stored mostly in our blood vessel wall. And when we have the higher muscle achievement, the more we have where we're getting slow twitch failure, fast twitch activity, we're actually getting more and more of this nitric oxide release. It cleans up the arteries and veins, helps them stay pliable, young, healthy. This is the safest way to help clean cholesterol off the arteries. But the main aspect of that is whether there's oxidative stress, cholesterol goes in to patch up the damage. We know that now. When we eliminate the oxidative stress out of the equation, the cholesterol is not just going in to patch up the damage anymore. We've been blaming it on the cholesterol, when without that, we just bleed to death even faster. But it is the serotonin, melatonin, the brain-derived neurotrophic factor that regenerates the brain and nervous system. It's been published to reverse neuropathy. So many of the things we need. And yes, it's a whole wiring system neurologically. But there's faster and easier ways to do things. And I like to I've gone into all the detailed processes also within my career over 30 years. My father did that too. We also started to figure out how we could just do things fast and easy. And there's like 7 master keys that I want to make sure that you get. And that one for the hormones is a very powerful one to literally transform your physique. But I like to help activate these other things first, the ones that I've already talked about first. Because if we don't produce the superoxide dismutation, we're just recruiting more life process of cells, turning them on, cranking out more free radicals without being able to have our catalytic converters working just to convert it back to oxygen, hydrogen. We could be increasing our free radical damage like so many athletes do more and more after the age of 20 as all the super antioxidant enzymes shut off, more and more after 20. And oxidative stress levels, linear progression from there till they die. So this is something that we just eliminate in everyone at every age back to that of a child within 2 weeks with the Nerve 2 activators. This has been proven and published. It's been published in Free Radical Biology and Medicine by the top universities. Even Harvard was involved with that. The first time that we actually cracked the code to solve that problem, and no one had ever done it before. Everything else was increasing it, and everything else still is pretty much nothing even compares. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Let me switch over to a couple things. Who here in this audience has an ingrown toenail, maybe on their big toe? Anyone have that? How long have you had that for? Well, have you gone to your podiatrist? But no, you haven't. You just dealt with it? You just pull it out. Does it help? No. So maybe it's not that.
Are you cutting it too short?
That's not it. That's not it. Let me get to the
we
solution.
mentioned how there's vessels that go from different organs to the feet, right?
So the meridian, there's 2 meridians that run to the big toe. On the inside of the big toe depends what you call the inside. So the side closest to the other toe is the spleen meridian, and then the one on the outside of that big toe is the liver meridian. I had a history of that kind of big toenail pain, and I would pull it out, and nothing worked until I went to an acupuncturist that worked on my spleen meridian, and that pain disappeared. Ingrown toenail pain needs to be evaluated by an acupuncturist, so somebody knows how to evaluate that and check for energy flow to and from, because I believe that's spleen 1 at the very tip of your big toe.
In reflexology, the big toe is the pituitary pineal gland. So if you damage your big toe and hit it, you
Yeah.
have to see what you're doing spiritually wrong. It's a message to you.
Yeah, it's in, whoever saw that reflexology chart, sometimes you see it in all these different organs, put that back together. So, and everything's connected. So that's one
Everything
thing.
is interconnected. And if you know what the master power plants are in your body and you turn them on in a split second because you got the keys to super consciousness, you can do it in a split second for a whole audience even. And I have 100% success teaching people how to tap in it that fast. It sends energy through all those meridians, and all the reflexology points, just where there was pain, it's just gone. So again, there's some shortcuts where there is a simplicity in the system. The more you learn, the simpler things get. Some people say, just give it to me in simplicity. I'm glad you're filling in more of the details. There's been a lot of experience that it takes to get it more simple. And now we can walk people through in like a few days. They're one of the most powerful healers that's ever walked the face of the earth, when we're just able to break down, showing them all these other keys in a, let's pass the ball. You turn this on and it's already off.
Well, I know, we just got to look at it. Yes, question? Sure. Okay.
Can I demo her? I'll
Coming
do it in
up,
a super
okay.
conscious way.
He can demo
Because there
her.
are keys to super conscious where you can even access any master's empowerment from any time or place. Like, say, ever heard of Dr. Usui from Japan? As a medical doctor, had a bunch of patients that he couldn't fix with what he learned in medical school. He meditated for a couple weeks solid until all the codes and symbols showed up for Reiki. He actually brought me to the time and space he received all that. So I've received it as he has, and I show people how to access it in a split second. Super conscious is lightning speed, like God speed. Subconscious speed, wirelessly. And there are principles where time and space aren't a factor. Go ahead and face this way. You say there's sciatic pain, right?
And let me have you step.
This is
so
from a
you're in the
nephropathy,
camera
which
better.
is a form of chiropractic using energy.
No, come this way.
In front of the camera. So, mind if I put my hands in your lower back on top of the iliac crest, both sides? So here and here, and you're probably seeing this. Check this out.
There we go.
Jeffrey.
We are checking.
What are you looking at here, you guys?
Okay, so we see how.
I want you to verify too.
All right.
He's a chiropractor too. He's done this a lot. You've heard of nephropathy, right? Naturopathic. It's a DN. Doctor of Nephropathy. It's a form of chiropractic. My father was a naturopath and a napropath. So one of them's Doctor of Natural Healing Arts. The other one's more of using energy with muscles to adjust instead of just doing more of the physical stuff. There's an energetic process that can do it. And I want to say, when it's like this, it's usually pain on the right side, sometimes the left. Which is it for you?
Right.
On the right side, the high side. See, the L5 sits on the sacrum, and it's tilted this really bad. And the sciatic comes out between the L5 and S1 on both sides, runs through like this. Mind if I check for pain? And usually it's like, anything in here?
Yeah,
Yeah, anything over here?
little bit.
Little bit. Now, thanks for not slapping me. But like even up in here, how about that?
No.
Not so much. The
Not so
sweet
much.
spot's really down in this side here, though. So with your permission, go ahead and just look in my eyes for a second. Done. How would you like to do that for kids in the womb and activate all their endocrine glands that are responsible for every developmental stage that they have and create power plant kids? Born extremely healthy. Why wait till after they're born to find out if there's a problem? And then after their brain hits a certain stage of development, start uploading data files just as fast, like the English language, gift of languages, music, whatever. How would you like to know how to do that? So this is a little bit of higher realm being communication principle that I did. And what's happened to the hips, Jeffrey? Come check them out.
All right, I'm coming to check it out.
This is cool because this happens with whole audiences. Those who were with me, I helped launch this event, initial keynote speaker in this room. the first day. And okay, so we did this with whole groups. We did much more than this, right? This still had a residual effect in this space. So like straight. Mind if I check for pain? What's happened?
It's not the same. It's much less. Yeah.
And now, like, most of it disappears that fast. And if we wait another, like, 5-10 minutes, it's because it was pinched, there's still residual swelling in it. But most of it's gone when it's just not pinched anymore. And then if we wait a little longer, the swelling's still coming out. So give her a hand, everybody.
There you go.
Now, does this get in some of the physical? There's manual ways of doing it, more physical ways. You could stroke your hips outside, inside, across the top. That's a naturopathic technique. Okay, what I did, they didn't teach in that system.
You know, of course, she went to a medical doctor. He said, oh, you're a candidate for some cortisone shots. We might have to do a discectomy. Oh, let's get an MRI. Look, if we get an MRI done on you, chances are we're going to find some herniations. We'll find stuff, you're gorgeous, but you're not as young as you used to be. So it'll come up. But energy healing happening right now. And then we'll check in with you in like a few minutes and see how that's feeling.
There's a way
Absolutely.
that everyone, I have 100% success, a process as stupid, simple as ABC, that you can do that for yourself and you can do that for others. How cool is that? To be a Jedi mind healer and do instant mass healing work. We're talking about Jedi principles here. You saw what I did. It's a bit of a Jedi mind healing process, but yeah, 100%, anyone can do it. You all have the hardware. It's just a matter of having the right software, someone basically showing what the key is, turn it on and go.
It's all about reprogramming, recalibrating. We did it without having, you didn't have to touch her. We just touched just to show you the difference in them.
That's
just
it.
look in the eyes.
You just did data transfer.
Right.
That's
And,
what I did to
I'm gonna
reattach
share-
brains from New York to LA, where I couldn't get anything physically there in time, and they pulled the plug 24 hours later, saying he'd never breathe on his own. He was breathing on his own. When the right and left hemispheres had completely severed, the neurons that had connected them, when the stem cells get in the brain, they call them preneural cells, and they can work even with massive inflammation. They get in there and start regenerating things. That fast. I was within 6 weeks, ripped the PCL out of my left knee in a wave runner accident. Both wave runners were totaled with my knee in between them. Within 6 weeks, doing standing backflips, drilled on cue for a week straight on the grass. So, yeah, it's doable. That's way faster than any surgery would do anything for anybody, by the way. Way faster, just blows it out of the water. The doctor just said I was way ahead of the ball game and never taught any of his continued clients in his whole career anything about what I'd done.
Right. All right, so my last little tip that doctors don't know about. Who here has pain only when they're walking or when they're turning their head one way or the other? Or there's some motion involved, like if you're not moving, it doesn't bother you, but if you are moving, it bothers you. Okay, anybody else? Because you already just up here, nothing. Okay, well, let me try Eric first. Come on up, Eric. You're the next contestant on Fix Me Now.
The technique I did for her also helps align the neck as well. Sends energy everywhere, in every
Well,
part.
you're here. We're here.
Pulls all the pain
Okay.
out of the reflex.
You didn't invite me to your house, so...
You have an open invitation.
Oh, now I'm coming to his house. Okay. Where's your house?
Reno.
Reno. Okay. Hold this arm up. Push up towards the ceiling. Okay, actually face me a little bit. Okay, good. Pushing up. Borderline weak. He needs a little bit of water.
Borderline.
I'm going to give you a little bit of water. He's a borderline dehydrated.
Oh, no, I have my own water.
Yeah, but is your acidic water or is yours alkaline water?
It's Whitney Springs.
Yeah, too bad. Just take a couple of sips.
CFC.
What would you call this, acidic or alkaline?
No, it's quadruple filtered alkaline water. Well, yeah, well,
What's the pH?
that's because that's what you guys brought.
And what's the pH?
That's the cups you brought here.
What's the pH?
9.5.
Did you know every
whenever I
number
bottled it.
above
Thank
7
you.
is 10 times more alkaline? Every
Okay.
number below 7 is
All right.
10 times more
Hope you don't fall apart
acid.
on me now.
It's not just a
CFC,
number.
face me.
And your heart
Hold this arm
especially has to be in the mid-range, like
Push it up.
7.2 to 4.
It's a little, okay. Now, so what body part hurts when you're moving it?
My neck. I haven't been able to get my neck
pull out the trapped
right.
albumin, and it always goes into the high side of alkalinity.
All right.
I
Okay.
mean,
so-
within the green though, not too alkaline, because that'll tear up the heart and vessels just as much
pushing
as
up.
being too acid.
All right, move your neck to the right. Move your neck to the left. Go like this to your
Pull out
neck.
the trapped albumin.
There it is.
Yeah, there.
There it is. Okay.
Excess fluid and excess
So, okay,
sodium's gone.
perfect. It's exactly
Perfect
what I want. So, so this is a brand new technique. I call it the bobblehead technique. It's whenever you're moving your neck around, that's when your body has this irritation. You need to recalibrate the quick stretching and then relaxation of the sensors. Once again, the body's just full of sensors. And this is, you'll see this a lot where someone had an ankle injury and then doesn't quite heal up. Did I just lose battery?
No.
No, okay. You know, or you have, you know, the shoulder feels okay unless you move it. You have to, once again, recalibrate the sensors the way they are. So Eric here, hold this arm up for me, pushing up. Turn your head to the right. It's fine. Turn your head left. Fine, all the way left, even though it's stiff. Okay. Now just bobble head around, and then it goes weak. Okay, you guys know what bobbleheads are? Those little things that you bounce around on the dashboard of your car. So that's what I call this, a bobblehead technique. So now I got to figure out how to fix it. So hold on to this microphone, Eric. No, the other hand. Good. Pushing up, bobblehead around. I'm going to keep bobbleheading until I find out
Can I check
where I got to
alignment
fix
real
it.
quick? Let me see your feet. See
Keep
this?
pushing. Doing great.
Off about that much. Let me see yours.
Yeah.
Not bad. Can I check your hips?
Oh,
There it is.
maybe, yeah.
Something
right
there. Take a breath in.
Your right side is
And
way
out.
down. I'm going to do something for you.
Good. Pushing up.
I'm right here.
Pushing up again.
I'm right here.
Good. Okay, bobble head around. Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Better. How's that feel?
Awesome.
All right. So I did a quick scan around his body. I couldn't find anything.
I just tested a couple in the back room, and the gentleman has his foot looks about that much shorter, and that's from the neck that's that's rolling the hip back because the neck muscles are tight on that side, and the lady has her hip pulled down on the right side about an inch. And I'm going to do an activation for the whole audience.
All right.
Okay.
Activation for the
because
whole
we can do it
audience.
for them, and they come up and they're shifted. It affected everybody.
We're good.
How many people like that?
Yeah. Perfect.
Are you
Thank
ready?
Now, can you help me? Because I believe that Eric's doggie's got a little bit of a limp.
We're going to help the dog too. Everybody in this
Okay.
space is going to get a little
We're
healing.
going to see that doggy walk. An ACL, a knee,
Yeah.
a knee.
Let me
Okay.
hear you say, "Show me the power."
Show me the power.
That's for total theatrics, but isn't that fun? Okay, are you watching closely? Done. Now, if it helped them, it helped everybody. In fact, you want to come on up? They were off a mile. If we can help them, we can help anybody. And this is, okay, go ahead and have a seat. Well, you're the one who needs to stand. He needs to have a seat. Go ahead and sit down. See where you're at. See that? How perfectly flush the bottom of the feet are here? Look at that. This one was off a mile, and
Right,
your hips, if
exactly.
you space that way, this hip was down a mile. Wow, it's like right up there now, perfectly level. Okay, good job. Now everybody got that here. Little fun. How'd you like to know how to do that for yourself?
Excellent.
Like that.
Yes, question?
No, I just said
Oh.
I
Oh.
wanted to know how to do it just like that.
Oh.
Come up after the presentation. I'm doing some training here, advanced training, before I leave town, actually.
He's doing
and
some
I also
training. I'm
travel
gonna be-
internationally, so
We have a question? Sure. Hold on. Microphone coming up.
You keep talking about the keys and that we should learn them, and wouldn't we like to know about that? And yes, I would, but is there a book or a course or
I have a membership area with replays, and if you paid close attention, I have talked about at least 7 master keys for different things. And I'm going to go over them real quick just so you get a better idea what they are all together. So I have, we've got the keys to integration or disintegration of truth. Those go into more detail in a program called the Laws of Empowerment. All of these things you can find at ZeroDisease.com on a links page. There's the Laws of Empowerment website, membership areas, a whole other system, 22-hour docuseries, all scripted material.
ZERO
It starts-
disease.com?
Yeah, it starts with the Zero Disease class. That's a fully scripted class, 2 hours. It's been about 60 years of refinement. But that, then the integration, disintegration truths also tied to the life processes. In every system of our lives, you're going to find out what that means. It's very expansive, very powerful information to learn. And the adversary is using it against people, knows how to play people's destroyer. Once you know the rules, when those adverse forces show up, you're way ahead of them at that point. You embrace the pain, listen to it, where it is in your body. You get on, it's bittersweet, all empowerment. The idea is to get more and more of the sweet. You get more and more golden nuggets, there's less and less duality. That's the point. But then the next key is the keys of inflammation have to do with energy and activating your lymphatic vessels. There's 2 keys with that. Energy unlocks the albumin. When it comes out, it's what makes the albumin lock. When you bring it back in, it unlocks. So that's how so many things have to do with energy. And then activating the lymphatic vessels pulls it out. If all you do is one or the other, you get results, but limited results. You do them both together, you start cracking the code for pulling inflammation out all over the place. And we talked about things that do that internally, deep breathing, bouncing. Internally, then laying on of hands for external. Then basically, the key to stem cells, what I did for you just activated stem cells because it's the power of the word, and I did it in a super conscious way, which is a whole other key that I teach as well. But I didn't disclose what those words were on a conscious level, but I did it subconsciously. So there's the survival genes and disease mechanism genes is NRF2. That replaces all the pharmaceutical market, by the way. And then the microbiome is butyric acid. That's another skyscraper. We don't even know how many floors there are, let alone how many units per floor. We've never mapped out all the families of microbes, let alone how many microbes in each family. We did the whole genetics, that's part of the Human Genome Project. We know there's like 5,000 survival genes. We know what they all are. We know what the gene are, the gene products, and we know what the products do inside the body, all those like 15,000 different things that I just mentioned. We know what they all are. But then there's the key to the hormones is a whole other pillar. Either one of these that you don't got working, they end up being chains dragging you down. So then there's super conscious abilities like higher realm being abilities of communication that allow lovers, that allow couples in a romantic, healthy, beautiful, pure, holy relationship, hopefully, so it doesn't end up being something we don't want to see as a chain called lust. If we're actually using the pure love principles, those types of couples, as in particular higher realm beings, can actually renew their vows with every beat of their heart and every breath that they take, and can have all kinds of other perpetual programming commands that turn on their life processes. This is a beautiful thing. They can actually add to those at a whim in the right moments, those commitments. They can modify those at a whim, adjust those, massage those as they go through their relationship, as they figure out what those rules are for them.
Good. We want to thank everybody. We have a booth outside. Come see us. Any questions? We've got some miracle healings happening for you. And you have a contact information for yourself?
Zero Disease.
ZeroDisease.com. Dr. Jeffrey
YouTube
Benton.
channel, Facebook.
HoudiniofHealing.com. And come and get a brochure. And it's got my office information and a QR code to get connected on social media. Thank you so much.